Can you guys hear me?
All set to begin. Yes, Mike. Who is our chairperson?
We don't have one.
All right, then in that case, I will call this meeting to order of the Joint Shared Services Subcommittee at 4:06 p.m. Members signify by saying they are present. Councilor Nagel,
Here.
Councilor Camillo. I know he's there, I can see him. Councilor Minor, not present. Board Member Stam.
Present.
Board Member Sylvia, not present at this time. You have a quorum. So at this point, we'll get into your resumed discussion. Anybody want to take it away?
Okay, well, I think I'm the only person on the committee right now that was on the committee last year. And unfortunately, I can't find my folder. It's right to the left of me somewhere. But I also know that the superintendent was on last year. So I don't know why she wasn't included in this year. And it makes sense because if we're going to talk about shared services, she probably should have been invited.
Okay. I can see if she's available and add her into the link.
I don't think she is. I think she's in another meeting at this
Okay.
time, but maybe for the future, we should consider that since there'll be a lot of things that we, we'll be talking about this. She might have more information or better information than I would on some of those things. Okay.
I can make sure that's on the list for next time. I wasn't involved in these, so I didn't know who was where.
Right. I think it was Carol, and it was definitely Steve, Sylvia, Carol, and Chris.
Yeah.
So, and then the superintendent was on that. I guess I could just talk a little bit. I wish I could find my notes and I can't. Sorry. Because I thought there was a chairman and I wasn't going to be ready to talk about everything, but I know that we talked about some of the things that we possibly could do. And I know that the facilities was a kind of a thing that we were trying to figure out if we could do some of that sharing with, and I know that we were looking at the possibilities. And I know that we had presentations from facilities, and we also talked about doing some consolidations with technology. And I know that Steve Sylvia would be better at talking to that point for us. So those were the two, because there were so many categories, not so many, but there was we broke it down into things. Those were the two that we were just focusing on to try to see what we could do to make, to make it more equitable, or to see even if discussing that possibility is equitable. But both those groups made presentations to us and shared, what they need, and especially technology was those guys, I guess, really do communicate well together, and they were well informed of what everybody has and what would need to happen. And they were really trying to do the technology piece because of the board of the town hall thing, and they figured we might as well do this now since we're just doing this reconfiguration. But I think because we were on we stalled, not a lot moved forward.
Could those presentations, if there's anything written or whatever in the files, be forwarded, especially to those of us that haven't previously been on this committee?
And I think a lot of the presentations were notes. I mean, we all took our individual notes on those. And what I'll do is I'll look for myself. I apologize. I didn't think I was going to have to be that on board right now. I can't find that folder right now at my desk. I might have put it away in another cabinet earlier on.
For the next
So,
meeting, we can put out the minutes for everybody for the last meetings that were held, so that
Oh,
you guys
perfect.
can review those as well.
Yeah, that was my next consideration. If
That'd
there
be
wasn't
awesome.
a presentation given that
Right.
is written.
Yeah, because I looked back to 2018, and you guys looked at some services, specifically transportation, fuel management, technology, human resources, facilities, as well as finance. So that was the start of the discussion back in
Yeah,
2018.
we talked a lot about all those things and the possibilities of what can happen around all those areas. But what we decided at that time was, yes, we would like to make that all happen, but let's just focus on those two. And we basically just focused on those two. I think.
And I'm sorry, there were technology and whatever. What was the other one again, Cindy?
Facility maintenance.
Facilities. Hi, this is Steve Sylvia. We decided to focus on technology and facilities.
Okay.
We
So
could maybe,
Steve, I know that you just joined. They're all new members and they weren't involved with any of the meetings, and I didn't realize that. And so they really have no knowledge about what we did. So they just said they're going to share all the minutes, the rest of the last meetings we had. And I said that I know that you could talk a lot about the technology. I was not comfortable talking about that piece.
I had thought going into this that we were going to talk about moving IT, building facilities, and transportation over.
It's
And
quite possible, Michael. It was discussed. It was discussed with the superintendent and the former town manager in conjunction with Carolyn Nest and Beth. And then it lost steam once we did not have any additional meetings. So the prior discussions that Cindy has shared with you, I don't know where the meeting minutes are, but that was the general consensus of what we were trying to do. And technology and facilities appeared to be the first ones that we could initially implement.
Keith, are the departments that are already duplicated within the town, are they able to absorb the Board of Ed side?
Well, again, I'm not familiar with what's been discussed and what the plan would be, and how to integrate it and implement it. I talked to my IT director, finance director, and both have indicated that they feel they could absorb the board operations into their operations, if that's what was intended. I don't know what the plan was or what the intent was, but yeah, we talked about all four categories, whether it be IT, transportation, facilities, or finance. And we feel that, if we did combine them, we'll say at the budgetary time, after budget is adopted this year and everything is put into place, then the transition could be easily accomplished, yes. But I don't know if that's the gist of what was being discussed in the past.
Right.
Well,
Go
Keith,
ahead, Steve.
that's basically it. It's basically an organizational consolidation, and then we didn't discuss anything that I can recall specifically around the budgetary aspects of it.
But what we specifically said, the intent was not to eliminate positions. The intent was to ease into some of these through retirements or through people leaving. We were not looking to eliminate people. We were not looking to eliminate people's jobs.
Yeah, Cindy's correct. That was the original intent, was that we were not looking to do an immediate downsizing or right sizing. We were basically saying that as people decided to retire or there was natural attrition, then that particular department can decide whether or not they need to replace that resource.
Right. And under one umbrella, it may run a lot better. One group of people managing instead of two different entities.
Yeah, that was a thought behind my pushing finance as hard as I was, because basically I was seeing a little bit of disjointed communications and application of generally accepted accounting principles, along with the, I'm going to just say jargon and definitions.
So the one question I have.
But that wasn't high on the priority list.
So the one question I would have is a lot of these these departments are under different categories, and some are unionized and some aren't, and I don't know who's in who's, you know, that kind of thing. Those are the kinds of things that I don't think we really talked about much and looked into, because that, I think, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it easier so that it's all under one umbrella. But like I know Keith, you just says it should be an easy transition, but is it really? Because all those, they're not all together, you know what I mean? And
You'd have to have both human resource departments work together at the same time.
I think what I would recommend, and again, I don't want to repeat what's already been talked about, but it would seem to me that if it's determined by this committee to recommend, we'll say certain of the services should be joined and implemented, that once those are identified and once the board and the council agree, okay, let's proceed, then I think that the operation departments that are identified to be merged would be given an opportunity, we'll say 4 months or whatever, to come up with a plan of implementation and how everything's going to transition and avoid any type of layoffs or anything like that. But I think you have to really determine which areas you want to do a merge with, get the council and the board to agree to those, and then we'll set up a timetable based upon those individuals that are operating those departments, the timetable for making it happen. And, that's why I said maybe, when the budget gets implemented next year, then you kick it in. So from now, and we'll say till July 1st, all this has to be done, with the first thing being the committee make a recommendation, the board and council taking action, and then the staff working with the superintendent and town manager prepare a plan for implementation that will occur, we'll say July 1st. And it should be smooth and not have any interruption in operations or services. But
I'd be happy to present this to our chair for consideration to be placed on the agenda for discussion and action.
But you as a committee, Steve, I think have to identify, let's think about, let's take one at a time. Is facilities one that this group would be recommending for merging?
Right. So
all agree.
What I think what we need to do is, I think the group needs to read the minutes of the past meetings so that you know what the flavor of that was and where it was going, so that you know what that committee wanted. And mostly we wanted, it was a drive to do something with facilities and definitely IT because of the town hall reconfiguration. They thought that was the best time to do that. So for sure, but I'm not sure I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe, like, I just thought you'd be able to better make a decision on how to move forward once you read all the other minutes to be informed of what the discussion was. Or we can just bring those facilities and the IT question up to the Board of Ed and do that. The other thing is I am uncomfortable that the superintendent's not at this meeting because she is an intricate part of that and she really should be informed of that. And she wasn't.
She was at the meetings. Cindy, she was at the meetings.
Steve, she wasn't invited to this meeting.
Oh, okay. I would agree that she wasn't invited to this meeting. Yeah.
So
I don't know who sent out the invitations. I mean,
It doesn't matter. They didn't realize it. That's fine. And I didn't notice that either. But so you guys tell me, I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to be like, I don't like to move as fast as some of you, but that's just what I.
But there's no problem with us having a follow-up meeting to this, say next week, and then have the superintendent invited. So, you know, because she understands the flavor. We talked about IT, facilities, finance,
yes,
and
Transportation.
I'm sorry?
Transportation.
And transportation. Yes, thank you. We did talk about this.
I think it was transportation was the maintenance part, right? Is that what
Yes.
yes, okay.
Mhm. I would think that would be the feasible part.
And I agree that I think that's a really good idea.
Keith, earlier you were talking about things coming together. Now, does it matter how many of these things are forwarded to you in terms of thinking there being a smooth transition? I mean, if we just said technology and facilities, could you handle, or could the town handle taking technology, facilities, and say transportation and finance when you look at things, or should we take things in, like, for instance, just the two we've been or three we've been
We didn't really talk a lot about finance. We talked mostly about IT and transportation and a little bit about.
I was concerned about
IT
how
and
much the
facilities.
town could turn things over if indeed we sent something to them, or the council did, saying, and the Board of Ed of going ahead with this. Is there a problem, Keith, with too many departments being sent? Go
What
ahead.
I would suggest you do is, I think that this committee has to determine what functions you want to turn over to each other, or to whoever it's going to be turned over to. And once the committee decides and it's recommended to the board and the council, and the council and the board agree, then I think that the individuals that are on staff that are running these departments then will be asked to get together, develop a plan and a timetable for implementation. That would come back to this committee or to whatever, board or council you want it to come back to. And each of those areas would say, okay, let's just say facilities. I mean, the facilities is interesting because we have the study going on by Owens right now. We don't have a facilities manager on the town side. However, Owens may be who the town would be hiring to oversee their buildings. And if the merger were to occur, and if Owens were kept on, they would also take on the Board of Education buildings. So you'd have one entity overseeing all of the facilities. And that particular entity would be who's studying the facilities right now. Now, if you look at IT, both the board and the town have IT administrators in place and employees. If we decided, or you decided to merge IT and the council and board agreed, then those IT administrators and their staffs would develop a plan of implementation to shift the responsibilities to wherever you want them, whether it goes to the board or the town, I don't know. And their timetable may be different than the facilities, just as the transportation would be probably different and the finance would probably be different, but they all could occur over a period of time, but that time may be different for each one of them.
Okay, so we could present a series of 4 or 5, and then the plans would determine if feasible and would determine when they would change over or go into effect, and it wouldn't all be at one specific date. Is that what you're?
It may, but then again, it may not, David.
Okay.
But I think you as a committee have to first identify what it is you want to recommend to the board and the council for merging. And, then make that recommendation, and then the board and the council have to agree that that makes sense. Let's move it to the next step, which is get the administration involved on both sides and develop a plan of implementation and a timetable.
I think the 4 that we mentioned, the 3 that you've talked about before in previous meetings that we'll get the minutes from, and also finance are what come to my mind immediately. So that is something we need to look into, but I agree. I think we need to, those of us that are new, need to get more information as specifically what was said before we went ahead and determined what we'd want to recommend to the council.
Are there any other members of this board?
I'm sorry?
Are there any, he asked if there was any other members on this committee.
This
Yeah.
one. Yeah, Chris Minor.
Chris Minor.
Right, so, and I really do think that superintendent should be on this committee. I think she should be in this conversation that I'm just reiterating, but can you just tell me, because we did not spend a lot of time on talking about what finance would look like if we did that. So I would need some input or some description on how that could possibly look, because we had many discussions on the other topics, but not that. So Chris Minor is jumping on in a minute. He thought it was at 5.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
on
see-
now, sorry.
I see him coming on. He's
Hi,
on
Chris.
mute right now.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. So
Okay.
Chris, we're just talking about the possibility, Keith was saying that if we decide what things we want to go forward with, the transition shouldn't be too complicated. He says timelines would be, in timetables would be different for each department. But they are talking about, how we talked about facilities, IT, and the transportation maintenance, but IT facilities, but they just brought up finance. And I know that we didn't have a lot of discussions about finance. So my last question was, what does that mean with finance?
Yeah, I don't think there was any discussion regarding the finance department that I can recall.
I don't either. It was brought up at this meeting right now. And just so that you know, Maureen was not invited to this meeting.
Okay. If we're gonna have a shared services meeting, I would presume that both sides would be represented. So I think that's a little difficult to have that conversation without everybody at the table.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Chris. We were thinking of that before you jumped on.
So Steve made a suggestion. I really think that we talked about it earlier, Chris, that these guys need to be up to speed. So they're going to be sent all the past minutes so that they can be up to speed of what we talked about and how we were going forward. And then I think we should not make any decisions today and meet maybe in a week with the superintendent there. And then after these guys looked over those minutes, make some decisions on which committee, which departments we want to move forward on this initiative.
And I would agree with that, to have everybody on the same page.
So we can schedule a meeting for next week.
I think that is the best thing to do right now.
And
The
By
only day,
Maureen, and
the only day next week that I have obligated is Wednesday. I believe it'll be the 14th, the Board of Ed meeting.
And of course, next week on Tuesday, we have a council meeting.
right, if we have a meeting at 4 o'clock, we can make all our meetings.
I think James,
We may have one, Mike, before
Right,
the council meeting, so that might make it difficult for you and me.
is James, you still on?
He's on mute.
I'm here.
Yeah, James, they're thinking of having another meeting next week. How does it look scheduling wise for another Zoom?
Well, I have to confirm one on Wednesday, which is a town hall that's proposed, I'm assuming for 5, but I don't think that one's going forward. We've got town planning and zoning at 7 on Wednesday. So if you guys are doing it at 4 o'clock again, it shouldn't affect us. I know Dave talked about the council meeting having a meeting prior to that one. So, if we need to look at it Wednesday or Thursday, that shouldn't be an issue. Of
Okay,
course,
so
we got Monday as a holiday, so we can't really address it with that one.
So is
Right.
Wednesday a good day for everybody?
Wednesday, hold on.
Wednesday works for me at 4.
We can confirm that with Maureen as well to make sure she's available.
All right, still checking my calendar. Hold on. Wednesday, the 14th,
Correct.
4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm good.
I don't know whether she'll answer, but I'm asking Maureen if she can meet. But I can. 4 o'clock is fine for me on Wednesday.
Okay. So I just sent you all an email with at least 3 sets of minutes that we currently have. You guys all have those for review. Steve, I'm not sure if you have the minutes from the last meeting, which was September 26th of 19. I don't have those in my office. I know you were doing them for the committee up until the election, so I don't know if you have those anywhere by any chance. Or if you were even in attendance at that meeting, I don't know.
Awkward silence. Is there a question that was missed?
No, I think we were waiting. Cindy was checking with Maureen to see if she was available.
Oh,
And she-
okay, thank you.
And she
James,
hasn't,
I think you asked if Steve had the minutes to the last meeting you had. Is that
Right.
correct, James?
That is correct.
I do not have the meetings from last September of 2019.
Right. The last meeting we have posted was September 26th, but we don't have minutes that were supplied in the office. So I wasn't sure if you were at that meeting and took the minutes. I know you had been.
Yeah, I submitted them to Carolyn S., James, and for approval. So, I can dig up the notes. It's on my other computer, but I can dig them up and redistribute them to you.
Yeah, that would be great. That way we have something on file for it, and we can make sure everybody has a copy of it as well.
Okay, I will dig them up, and yeah, I remember I took the notes and sent them to Carol.
Okay.
okay, so Maureen's not responding, so she must, I know she's in another meeting, so she
Right.
probably doesn't have the opportunity to do that.
Well, we can keep it open. I'm here anyway, so if you guys are all available, we can see about getting her in for that. If not, we can always put an email out to figure out another time that works for everybody.
That's good.
Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Well, we still have a little bit of public to go, so if we're done on this discussion item for the moment, we've got public participation. We do have one attendee, it looks like, on. Now, it's Carol as well. I'm not sure if she wanted to make any comments. If she wants to star 9 to speak. I'll give her a moment.
I'm presuming that this particular group has selected a chairperson.
No, we haven't.
Not at this moment, but because it's not on the agenda and it's a special meeting, we can't add to it. So we'll have to look at that at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. James?
No problem. All right, doesn't look like Carol's looking to speak, so at that point we can move on to the next item, which is the approval of minutes we don't have yet, so we'll move on. We determined a possible next meeting already, so at that point, Mike, if you'd like.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting is adjourned at 4:37. Thank you, everyone, and we'll get that additional information out to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Aye.
Dave, if you could text me your phone number, that would be great. I lost a lot of information today on my phone. Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Steve, I lost yours also.
You want my